lively crowd today. Welcome. How's everyone doing? Good to see you. Thank you for being here for our, I guess it's our second 2022 Art Discovery Series. And it's something about curating a collection to celebrate, which is what we do here every day. We like to have fun. We like to celebrate our art and share it with our friends. So thank you again for being here. So today is going to be a little different than some of our panels because we didn't, well, we just decided to bring in some outside help. So today you're going to be enjoying my good friend Adolfo Castillo from American Art Collector.
Hi. Yes, it's title. So the collecting ones are American Art Collector, Western Art Collector, and American Fine Art magazine, along with our native art magazine. So we cover all the bases, all the genres. We also have an international artist, which is more for artists by artists.
Yeah, so Adolfo and I have known each other for about 20 years because you've been with the publication that long. Adolfo knows a lot about art, not just from the publishing side, and you were the creative director for many years, and
production, creating. I touched a little bit of everything actually before getting to this point in my career.
Yes, and not only that, he and his wife Robin are great art collectors as well. So we've shared stories over the years about how much we all love collecting. So we thought we would put our thoughts together and share them a little bit with you guys. We've given you some fun handouts today. We've got the American Art Collector on each table and native.
We have the Western and Native American art.
Yeah, and they're super quality editions. And also, there's a little special offer for you. And then there's also a handout that is something we put together on tips for a collection to celebrate. So definitely gonna have some fun. And again, Adolfo, was it just over a year ago, you and Wendy became
publisher? Yeah, about a year and a half ago. I've been with international artists since pretty much the beginning. When I started, we had the Artist magazine, which was international artists, and it was one of those things where the publisher and owner at the time was having a lot of the artists were coming to him and asking for help to get representation, help finding collectors, and it was so funny because he's from Australia and he had such a hard time finding venues and people that would cover the art. So he just said, you know what, I'm just going to create the magazine and help people get a hold of these artists and help them collect art. So that was the birth of American. And over the years, little by little, we got approached for the different genres. We started with contemporary realism.
Hold that microphone.
Sorry, can you hear me?
See, I told you they would let us know.
You were right.
Yeah, we want you to hear us, so don't be shy if you can't hear us.
But over the years, we then ended up branching out because we had a lot of different genres of art that would come, like, we need help too. So we're like, well, that is. So little by little, we integrated Western art and then American historic art, and then finally our last one was the native art. So
which this issue of the native art, we do have some more copies up at the front if there's not enough for everybody, and we are grateful for that. But we started advertising in American Art Collector way back when they first started, and one of the things that we loved about how the magazine is laid out is it really is geared toward helping collectors learn about the artist. You've got great features on building collections, and really it's an educational. And I have saved many issues because I can look back and reference them, which is also something that we feel is really important. So let's kind of dive into. I'll get that later. It's not necessary. He's got them. So. My gentleman, you guys come like almost every week. It was so nice. He read through this handout and said,
I agree with
everything. So number one rule, hands down, of anybody who will tell you about collecting art is buy what you like. Listen to your instinct. And so many times people might think, you have to be super educated, which is one of the things we try to do here is help educate our collectors and our friends. But yes, Tammy, that's you. But we definitely, anytime somebody asks me, how do I know what to invest in? I'm like, number one, buy what you like. You're going to live with it. You might share it with others later on. But one thing that you and I have talked about over the years, and I've witnessed you and Robin, is we buy stuff, just you guys and Jake and I, we will buy work that commemorates a moment or, takes us back to a marking of time, and you guys have done that as well. So you're really celebrating the art as you buy it.
It is. I tell everyone that to me, collecting art is it's a journey. It's your life, and it's almost a record of your life throughout your time being here on Earth. And me and Robin, my wife, there's so many times we'll be sitting in the living room and we're just looking at the art. Because remember that where we were, and we the whole story comes back, and we laugh about it, and it's such an emotion that comes from just from seeing that piece of artwork, along with the art itself. I love art so much. So to me, that and then attaching a part of our life to it, it's just something special that you don't really. It's hard to create in any other thing for me, at least for me. I love art, so.
Well, and travel's right up there, but also what do a lot of us do when we travel? Buy art. Did you know that is one of the top times that people are purchasing art? And most of the time, art purchases are generally made with a couple. Sometimes we go rogue and don't involve our others.
Oh, I know. Plenty of times I get surprised with like, oh, I bought a piece of artwork. It's like, oh, it's so hard because I used to be the one that I want it all, and my wife was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's been ever since we became publishers, it's been such a flip. Like it feels so weird for me to be the person to say, whoa, whoa, calm down. I'm like, I'm not used to it. But so she knows she can get away with it because it's art. So.
Well, and it's Robin. So.
Yeah, that's right.
But definitely find what you like, and it's fun to get. I don't know if I'm not going to go in order because I'm not going to try to read all this, but getting to know the artist is another super high value for most of us when we buy art. Certainly, there's traditional galleries that we all can go and support and find things we like and attend a gallery show where the artist is present, because it really, for me and most of our collectors here, it elevates the experience when you've met the artist and you might know a story behind you. Now, some people tell me, I just had a guy in the office earlier who's like, I don't want to know where they were when they painted it. It's more like, when I connect, we're going to buy it. Don't care. So we love all the different ways people buy, but definitely having that story enhances it as well.
Well, that's one of the things when me and Robin first came to Celebration, that was one of the things that made us fall in love with here. In fact, we go to galleries, and sometimes you meet the artists, sometimes you won't. But this is one of the rare times it was the first time, at least for me and Robin, where we came and we were actually able to speak with the artist, get to know the artist, which is, again, I don't know, maybe at my age then that long ago, it was rare. And I don't know, something about it that made me get so excited. So every year when the show is getting ready to come back, Robin and me are oh excited. We get the card in the mail. We're like, oh, it's coming. We live for the opening and this coming and doing this.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
But we really do believe that art should bring you joy and spark joy when you look at it. And another thing, kind of getting ahead of it, but enjoy the art you have at your house. Walk around and look at it. A lot of us, we can't hang it all in the main room we're in all the time. So I'll literally will go around and visit my art and talk to it. And, move it around. That's one thing that if you want to refresh your look, you can rehang. I kind of got almost a spring look over here, by the way, so as we're moving into springtime. So you can rotate your art based on the season.
I mean, we just moved into our home maybe 2 years ago, and we've redone it 3 times now, I believe. I'm really big on repositioning your artwork and for a different point of your life. And I love seeing certain pieces of artwork at certain times of the day. Robin will laugh at me because I put one right by my light switch as I leave my bedroom. And she's like, that's a weird position for the painting. I go, I just want to see it every time I walk out the door. So I have it there. And so it's one of those, it's one of those things that I think helps freshen it up as you're talking about. But it also helps you kind of reevaluate your collection and how to, and ways, and gets you excited for the next piece, you know?
Yeah, and it is hard. I mean, we've got lots of people, I'm gonna call on some a little bit later, but you know, when you keep buying art, collecting art, you have to rearrange it, or you know, because we'll take something home and go, okay, I can't just throw it up on the wall over here. So we've got little areas that we've curated and we put together collections so that they kind of all like each other. And by that, I do not mean they're all the same. Our collection is very eclectic, but there's some continuity in the areas that we set up. So it's not like, okay, I can just go and throw this up somewhere. How many of you have to rearrange when you bring something new in? Yeah, but that makes it fun.
That is the fun part about it. Sometimes I bring it home and I literally sit, it doesn't get hung up for sometimes a month, which for my wife, it's like really, I know it hasn't spoken to me where it wants to live yet. I don't have it yet. So finally, Robin's down to the point where she hangs them while I'm at work. She goes, if I don't do that, I'm never gonna have them on the wall. So I'm actually grateful about it now because sometimes you can overthink it. You know, you want to present your artwork in a way that's meaningful, and I have sometimes a problem. You overthink your artwork and where you want it and how you want it to live, and so it can be. When
art's your whole world, it is like very permanent. You're like, this gotta work. But and I think this is sort of preaching to the choir here, but if you want to learn about what kind of art you like, you just have to experience it. Because a lot of people starting a collection will say, I don't even know where to begin. And I think we would probably all agree, if at all possible, you want to buy original art. Even if it means buying smaller pieces, which, you know, I can tell you, Jake and I started off with very small pieces in our collection because it's where we were at that time. We also would ask about payment plans, which some artists will work with you on a payment plan. So, but rather than, not that there's anything wrong with reproductions, because we do have them in various places in our home, but if you're really wanting to start that art collector experience, there's nothing more exciting than that original art, and especially if you know the artist. But experience, go to museums, go to galleries, go to art shows. Art auctions are a blast. You can go to, but be careful because you get caught up in the moment, or kind of like we do here. And keep your hands down. Don't sneeze. Last year I was waiting, they were going to the wrong table to get somebody's payment. So I'm like going like this. And I thought I was bidding and I was like, oh no, I'm trying to pay for the one I already bid on. But
it is interesting though that what you're talking about, it can be, there's an education to it, because when I was starting off collecting, I did a lot of, it can be intimidating if you don't, especially when you're starting off. You know, I collected a lot of posters when I was young and I couldn't afford anything. And it was mainly the, you know, Masters, Picasso, Palsy. It was like all the ones you know in that, at that time, in that period, but then you make the jump. And to your point, it's there's a little education to that. I never even knew. I don't want to tell you how long it took me to even realize that you can ask for payments. I thought I had to have all the money at once, and you know that can be, you know, that could be it's scary sometimes, like going into a gallery and you're gonna do, or going to a show and you gotta talk to the artist, and kind of one of the biggest things I had to overcome was I didn't want to offend the artist. You know, it's one of those things that, but the small works, I love when I see and I walk around small works. It's a great entry point for a lot of young collectors. That's how, I'm pretty sure, I feel like everyone I know that started that way. You start with the small works and you build yourself up. I went from posters to prints. And I remember one time I told my wife, I was like, that's it. I go, I don't, no more prints. I go, I'd rather wait and save up and get the actual artwork and get another print. And it was a little click in my head. I was just like, I said, I want the real thing. No, I just want it. So, yeah.
Texture and yeah.
Like I said, it's one of those things that you get to that. It's a little process, but the big thing is overcoming some of the initial intimidation and fear. And I don't know why not. Now I look back and I think, oh, how silly. Like every artist I've met has always been so nice. Every gallery owner, everyone that in this industry has always been so nice. I don't know why in my head I was so intimidated.
Well, I think that's natural, but artists are people too, and they like to help people get their work. So you started off with a much more elevated entry than I did, because I remember when I first moved here, you'll remember this. I was living in an apartment complex, and it was one afternoon they had somebody come to the clubhouse that was selling like photographs of like Golden Gate Bridge and nature stuff and scenery. And so I think my first collection was about 5 of those photos with push pins on my wall, which is really funny because I grew up in an arty environment. My parents were both into art, but I was 19, so it got better after that. I started buying real art. But let's see, what else? One of the things about small works, as Adolfo said, you can build a really great collection with the small works of both paintings and sculptures, and that's where you can really have fun curating like your own collector wall. So that's a great way to get started and also kind of hone your eye. Learn what you like, learn what kind of lights you up when you walk in the room. You're drawn to the artwork that makes you feel good. And then, as we grow, one thing we know about this part of the world, Scottsdale especially has giant walls. So if you have 12 feet walls, you probably aren't going to be able to have enough minis to really make your wall pop. So when you are investing in your home to build your collection, you want to be aware of scale. So the number one thing that happens around here is people see a piece here and think, oh, that'll be perfect. And they take it home and guess what? It's too small. So rarely do we have somebody come back and say it was too big. So a few ways to work with that is an artist can do a virtual installation, which is, using technology to pretend a painting's hanging on your wall. You can even do old-fashioned, old school, get some blue painter tape. So if you're looking for a specific area that you want to add a piece and you kind of honed in on, maybe the style you want or whatever, but trying to figure out the size, you can just get blue painter's tape or cut out a piece of contact paper or whatever and put it up on the wall, and you'll start to see that. And either you might need to go bigger or you might need to say, okay, this wall is really crying out for a collection. And then that's when you really have fun. And I'm going to pull Deanna and Ken in a little bit, but building a curated wall is really fun for me. And also involving the 3D.
Yeah, no, that's been, the technology now, that's been a real big help. Because I remember when I first started, we would lay them all literally on the ground and trying to figure out how they would work well together, which one would go with where. And then I graduated because I have a background and I using Photoshop and all that. And I would take photos of my living room wall, and then I would take pictures of the individual pieces of work, and I take it in Photoshop, crop them, and I lay them on there and try to play with it.
I do that with scissors and glue and tape. That's my skill set.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fun part of the process of collecting. Now me and Robin we'll get a glass of wine and we'll start every time we get a new piece, it's an excuse to kind of go through your whole collection and decide where it's going to live and how it relates to the other artwork and how you want to present it. But it is a fun process, It's part. I think it's all part of collecting. It's all encompassing, and I love that part of it.
And also, as you go along the way, educating yourself. And I was speaking with some of our collectors earlier today about how we really worked hard to have this experience be a fun and happy and joyful experience, but also we have taken pride in how we've been able to help educate people. Just every day walking around, talking to the artists and learning kind of the ins and out. And you'll then when you experience art somewhere else, you'll be able to recognize a technique or a medium that you might not have been familiar with. So those kinds of things are the education. And then the art discovery panel, we really try to expand that so that you get a little bit deeper dive into what goes on behind the art scene. And
that's one of the things I love about things like this, like celebration, is that some galleries. I love galleries, and I enjoy going to them. I get to that level where you're educated enough and you know the art that gallery presents. But the beauty of something like this is that you get to see so many different kinds of art all under one roof, and so many different styles, mediums, subject matter, and it's really great for the education part of it. I learned something. It wasn't maybe, I don't know how many years ago now, 4 or 5, when what was Gabriella's work?
Encaustic.
I had never actually seen it in real life, or I had heard of it, but I'd never seen it. And I remember we saw it, and we were like, oh my God, I love this.
Yes.
And she taught us, she educated us. I didn't know the process or what it was exactly. And she took the time to educate me and tell me everything about it and the process. And right then and there, we went around and like, okay, we have to have one.
Yes. Yeah, the generosity of the artist, I think, is wonderful. And by the way, Wax On, Wax Off is an upcoming art discovery series all about encaustic beeswax. That will be Shari, Lyon, and Gabriella. So the other thing that really, I think, enhances building a collection and a conversation point is mixing and matching styles and mediums. So we try to represent that here. One of the things that I think really is enriching is that you don't have to just be all Western or all abstract or all impressionistic. And I think sometimes people don't realize that because they think, oh, I need to kind of, this is the lane I'm in, or many of our collectors have homes in different places. So their mountain home will be more maybe Western or cowboy, and their downtown homes can be more contemporary, which is great. And it's a great jumping off point, but don't be afraid to mix in pieces that might seem like a juxtaposition of styles, because it really does elevate that collection.
It does, and it can really create, I tell people all the time, it creates such a more exciting presentation when you're walking through something. I love not knowing what I'm going to see around the corner. I am one of those, it is a personal journey. There's certain people, I know someone who only loves florals and all they collect is florals. And to me, it's like, good for you. You know who you are. You know what you love. Boom. And then you have people who love all. I fall more in the I love it all. But I don't like to your point, it's a great opportunity to create an interesting, like I love mixing. I tell at my home, you'll see a Western right next to a contemporary, right next to an abstract piece of work. But there is a sense of continuity, whether it's a color, whether it's a shade, whether something will tie it together. But I love having the juxtaposition of the styles and the mediums, and creating little vignettes in the corner, and it makes such a more interesting, in my opinion, a more interesting presentation of your collection.
You have the through line, you have, and again, we have different areas where also don't just think walls. I mean, we have art on the walls, we have art on tables. I have I have some little mini Shari lions that I put in front of a painting that's on our sideboard. So don't just think walls. You can put art almost anywhere. And don't laugh, but a lot of some of our collectors' best art, guess where it is? In the bathroom. Because why wouldn't you want to be surrounded by your favorite things while you're getting ready in the morning and end of day? So
I know it's so funny you say that, because it's not even that long ago, I was speaking to a pretty famous art dealer, and we were talking about his home. And he was telling me, oh yeah, I told him how I have personal reservations about putting artwork in the bathroom, because in my head, I'd be like, oh, what would the artist think if he found out or she found out that I put it in the bathroom? And I was telling this to the dealer, and he goes, oh no, I have 25 pieces in my bathroom. And I said, oh wow, your guests must really love it. He goes, no, 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 it's my bathroom. No one goes in the bathroom except me. And I was like, huh, all right. And a week later, when we were redoing our wall again, we put some artwork in the bathroom. So it's interesting. I love the, but you're right, it's that kind of thing where it's like, he called it his own personal gallery, so.
Yeah, I mean, we love when we get invited to collectors' homes and they'll let us go in every single room in the house. If you come to my house, I probably have a room or two I'm not gonna let you go in because it's messy. But there's art, some of it has art stored in it because I don't know where to put it. But yeah, and art buying should be fun. And I'm gonna get Ken. Ken, do you want to come up or you want to just hold the microphone? Because these two, Ken and Deanna, we have so many great collectors here, but we're going to put Ken on the spot. So Ken and Deanna know how to have fun when they buy art, and they buy art all over. They come here, they go to art gallery shows, museum shows. Maybe you look like we can't see you over there. Come over here. Yeah, come on up. So he showed me a picture the other day. So you buy a lot at auction. You buy a lot from here. You love sharing your work. And by the way, it's okay as you evolve in your taste. If you realize one day you don't really love what you loved 25 years ago, let it find a new home. And don't worry about resale value. Like, find somebody else who might love it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you are masterful, like Deb and Todd, at working new artwork into your home. And you have great relationships with so many artists that you buy from. You showed me a picture the other day of a hanging party. Can you just talk about that? And then what you want to do with that photo? Because this is like the epitome of the collector experience being fun and involving people. And it just like rolls forward.
Last June, we went to the Prix de West in Oklahoma City, which we like to do as often as we can. And we were fortunate enough to be drawn for a landscape painting by Matt Smith, who's a local artist here in the Valley. And we were quite thrilled by that.
Very good one, by the way. Excellent.
Very good. And when the sale was over, we all went back to the hotel and in the bar, of course. And Matt and Tom Browning, Dan Karazi, and a few other artists were hanging around the table, and we're just talking about the sales. And I said, Matt, you know, we need to have a hanging party for this wonderful piece of art. It's going to take several weeks to get it, and they hang on to it for a while. And so we finally put the hanging party together. And Deanna and I had acquired an easel from the Scottsdale Museum downtown and put the painting on the easel in our living room. And we would just display it there until we got it hung. And so by the time the hanging parties came about, I had decided on the perfect place to put this painting. It was in my office, of course. And so everybody arrived, and by that I mean the same culprits from Oklahoma City: Tom Brown, Matt, Dan Karazi, Jason Napier, all artists, very good artists. And so I took Matt in the office and I said, here's where I think I want to put it, Matt. And he said, works for me. So we came back into the group, and everybody started saying, so where are we going to put this painting? And he says, well, Matt and I decided we're going to put it in my office. And all of a sudden we got 3 other art critics saying, no, it needs to go in a better place. So it turns out they decided to put it in our floor so that as soon as you walk in the door, you would see the painting.
And a painting had to move.
Of course. the painting had to move, we took the painting down. So Jason, I think it was, and Matt, they start measuring as to where they're going to put the hooks and all that sort of thing. And they're all set, ready to go. And I said, look, hey, you're measuring off a wall plate that is not in the center of that wall. And I go, oops, okay. So they start all over. So the next thing you know, Tom comes over and he's looking, and then Dan Karazi comes over and he's looking, and the ladies are taking pictures. And by the time they were done, and by the time the painting was hung, we had this collage of different views of this hanging, and it reminded us of Norman Rockwell. And the title of the piece was to be, how many guys does it take to hang a painting? So with that in mind, and with the celebration coming up, we thought, oh, wow, there's a twist at the celebration that is very good. And that would be Judith down here on the south end, and waiting, oh, there she is. So we're waiting to see what her ideas are for this potential painting. And our idea is that if we do decide to go through with the transaction, then we'll probably also order a half a dozen Giclées so that all of those guys get to have that painting as well.
Love that story. And then there'll be another hanging party. So I guess you have to be careful at hanging art party. But yeah, how many of you hang by measuring precisely or by eyeballing? Which way? Measuring? Just eyeballing? Yeah.
I started one way, and just this year, after 44 years of living, my wife, I used to be so strict, like rulers, measuring from the wall, measuring, finding the center of the wall, just everything measured. And one day, you know, my wife was again, she's like, you gotta, I'm at work, so that means time to hang paintings. So I come back and she goes, what do you think of this wall? And I go, oh my God, it's so awesome. And she goes, okay, let's do another wall. And I start doing it. She goes, I go, how did you get this wall done so good? She's like, I just hung them up. I go, wait, you didn't measure anything. She goes, no, I just hung them up. So I tried it. I'm not that good at just hanging them without.
See, it's an art form, being able to hang without measuring.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not as easy as I thought it would be. Oh, okay, fine, I'll just do it too. No.
So that's awesome. Thank you, Ken, for sharing that story and having fun with art. And, you know, we all do. And so a few other kind of practical things. Again, we never tell people buy art as an investment. It may go up, it may not. It just to make your heart happy. But just to be, you know, mindful, it is a good idea to keep documentation. So when you purchase art, you know, have a place where you file, you keep track of the invoices, keep information about the artist. And again, one of the things I love about American Art Collector and other great publications, Fine Art Connoisseur, Art and Antiques, Western Art and Architecture, Southwest Art, is if you have an artist that you really love and collect, you follow them. And when you see an article or you see that they have upcoming show, you know, you can keep that information and kind of build a provenance of the art you collect. And, you know, if you know the artist and you're standing right there next to the artist, get a photograph of you with the artist and the painting or the sculpture or the class or whatever your piece is. And, you know, document that whole journey. We have clients, Hank and Midge, that have like three ring notebooks because they've been coming here for 30 years of photographs of them with the artist and the artwork and the information. And if an artist sends you a follow-up note, you know, keep that. We've talked about this before, Eddie Basha established the Basha's Art Museum. He was a huge supporter of the Cowboy Artists of America, the CA, and very friendly with all of the, the members, the artists. And part of what makes the Bash's art collection so phenomenal is all of the little extras, especially Joe Beeler would always send Eddie a thank you note, a short little note, but he'd have a little drawing or a little painting. And so if you go to the Bash's Art Museum, which is at their corporate headquarters, I don't know what they're going to do now that they've merged, but
yeah, I don't know. As far as I know, it's still open because we were trying to plan a time to go see it.
yeah, it's kind of limited hours and it's down in Chandler. It's kind of hard to find, but worth it. Monday through Friday.
Which was really, that was.
Yeah, and you can walk through it. To me, the thing that really sung was the pieces where I saw, here's the artwork and here was a little note. So, I guarantee you, there are people here that you're buying from that are going to be that well-known one day. And if you say, oh, look, I have this, it's extra special. And again, whether it's something that you might sell later on in the future, or that you're going to pass on to your family, but that's another thing. Document your work as you purchase it. And if you have family members that, when you graduate to the next place, find out who wants what of your collection. And sometimes we'll have people come in and they'll say, none of my kids are interested in any of my art. What do I do with it? And, you can donate it, consign it,
auction it. It is important to document whether or not, I always joke at this point in my life, I still don't have a piece of artwork that I joke with my wife and say, once it's made it into my home, it's never leaving. I still have even the oldest pieces I have from when I was in college. I still love them because, again, to me, there's a story behind it. And I still love it. I still love all of it. But we've worked along with documenting it for the provenance and all that. If you're going to have to get insurance for it, especially as your collection, it doesn't seem as important when you start off, but as your collection grows and gets to certain levels, you definitely have to get insurance for that. And so having all that documentation really helps in that process. And it's good to get in the good habit of it too. We started a little bit late for that same reason. We didn't realize it. So we've been going through and taking pictures on the wall of all of our pieces, getting the receipts. Robin's way more tech savvy. She started a database of them on the computer. But it is important because, to your point, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You have insurance. You have our kids. I got my youngest one already negotiating with me which one she wants for her room, and I was like, so it's one of those things you don't know.
It is her birthday today, so.
Yeah, it is her birthday today.
Precious girl.
She took one to her room. We bought one at the Bull Arts last year, and she only brought it home. Again, I don't hang them right away. She took it straight to her room. This is from me in my room. So this year, she's like, if you let me pick one out from my room, you can have the other one back.
Oh, negotiating.
Yeah, starting up.
That's great. And there are some great, I feel like it just left my brain, but there are some great online services or apps where you can document and keep your collections. But insurance, you always want to have a writer because most homeowners insurance won't cover, fine art or fine jewelry or that kind of thing.
And if you put it in your office, like I've had, it's overflowed into my office at work now. And so that also includes, you have to talk about the insurance for that separate from the business. And so it definitely gets into those areas where you kind of really need, but there are, the age we live in with so many, there's apps, there's even inventory art apps now that I've seen out there where you just literally go in and take a photo on your phone and enter the info and helps keep track of everything.
Yeah, I actually have, I can't imagine why I can't tell you it, but because I actually still am old school, I'm not really using it, but it is a great online documentation. Maybe I'll do some follow-up notes if I can remember, and we'll put it in the notes on the website. But
it's the thought of having to go back to like weird old school, and then it's like the thought of having to go back and now digitize everything sometimes. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Deb, what do you guys do? Do you document your collection? Putting you on the spot, or?
I save every receipt.
Yeah, save the receipt.
It's probably not as organized as it should be, and that's something that I need to work on, but I have every single paper, every single note card.
Yep.
Every receipt, cards, you know, we went to a charity auction.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of times, a lot of documentation, but, you know, like a signed shirt or a signed helmet or something that we have at least where we, you know, the invitation
Right.
from where we went to receive what we paid for it. Because I don't really have a good problem with some things, like where it came from. But I at least have had at least, you know, for this particular, you know, nonprofit, this charity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another great place is charity auctions to get your art.
And that helps with the appraisals too, because part of the process of obviously getting the insurance is getting appraisals and everything. And so all that documentation helps with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff, they don't even want to give a dollar amount to, they will do it on an appraisal, they won't authenticate.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with the documentation, and I have, but it's mainly just for just knowing when we got it, where we got it. You know, I give a little mini, helmet that Chandler signed right before they, you know, before the Cardinals went to receive.
Okay.
I don't know if it was worth anything now, but we bought it, you know, we donated it to a charity auction quite a while ago.
Okay. Yeah. So that's more of the memorabilia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's memorabilia, but, you know, with a lot of that stuff.
Okay. I guess I should be using the microphone because not everybody can hear, and certainly people watching can't hear.
Art inventory is one that really.
We're going to hand you the microphone so you can. Thank you.
You're talking about software to
Yes.
track art inventory.
Art inventory. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It is real good because you can keep as much information on it as you want. So you can have everything you talked about on it, about with each picture. And depending on your family situation, you can even have on there who gets what.
Yeah, you can designate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. I knew
It's
it was.
one of those things going backwards that you have to, when we have to go back in our earliest works and have to go, we weren't good at that, you know, I'm a very more emotional person about my art, so I don't worry about that part of it. I just see it, fall in love with it, I want it, I want to hang it, I care about that part, and then I leave the rest, and unfortunately, now, it's good to get in that habit, because, and I tell young collectors now that I speak to who are looking to buy art, I go, start your good habits now, because going back and having to find the records, having to find the galleries who may or may not be there anymore, or trying to get a hold of the artist, and it's not that it can't happen. It's a pain. So it's easier.
Always better to start with good habits. I like that. Yeah. And nowadays, you know, we can Google everybody and find out information. But if you've got the little personal things, you definitely. I think art inventory, you could scan those things into the program and still have the hard copy information somewhere. But
a lot of galleries too, and a lot of events especially galleries are doing a much better job of that as well. We purchased some pieces and they sent me a PDF with a photo of the artwork, a whole bio on the artist, or all in the PDF for me. I was like, oh my God, this made it so easy for me. I was like, I don't have to worry about it. So
yeah,
it's nice. It's nice the kind of things that can happen now with all the technology.
Yeah. Deanna?
Ken and I donate. Ken and I have been collecting from here since about 1994. And so we have a lot of art from everywhere, but we donate a lot. I mean, Ken is a CPA. Need I say more?
Detail.
And everything is and I'm documented.
You are a piece of art.
I am.
Yes, you are.
I'm a piece of art. Anyway, we document everything, but we donate a lot of our art. So we can add more art to our collection. but it's a great thing to do that's all documented in provenance and et cetera, that we donate more art so that we can add more art.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it is something to think about for the future, like that. Thinking of that, people don't like to think that far ahead. Like I'm one of those. I don't like to think that far ahead. I like to think that it's all going to stay with me. I'm never going to. When I have to, if I have to think about it, I get a little sick. It's like, wait a minute, you're asking me to choose one of my pieces that will go away from my home. Like I don't want to think about that. So I have problems. I'm not saying that. I never said I was normal. I have a real attachment to everything.
Yes, art addict. We know those people well.
Yes. So I never think about it, but I had a lot of people as yourself who tell me, you get to a point you do get to a point where, you run out of room, your taste change, you evolve, your palate grows. So I'm sure that may happen one day. I don't want to think about it yet, but I'm sure it's a process, right?
It might happen. It might happen.
We had a donor in Modern West. They had a whole collection of historic Western art, and we were in LA at I believe it was Bonhams, and the whole auction was all her collection of historic Western art. I was in love. I was like, oh my God, how could you even think of getting that? And what I had heard was, she's like, I decided I want to do Western modern. So she was going to start doing Western art, modern art. So they were auctioning off all her historic art. And I was like, God, I don't know how mentally in my mind, like I was enjoying and seeing everything, but part of me in my brain was like, how can you, I don't understand that. But she just like, I'm in love with the new Western art world. So it kind of blew my mind.
And it does happen.
It
And
does.
And it's great if you have friends and family that you can share things with too, but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, that's the nice thing about it, because I do think about it, and I'm training my kids to love art and to appreciate it, and hopefully they'll take some of it and keep it in the family. So it's kind of fun to think about it that way. So the collection can kind of grow through your family and kind of hopefully get them started.
Well, we have a long time ago, we were told to put dibs on things that we know we want, so don't be shy. But again, I would kind of just recap and say, buy what you love, trust your instincts. I mean, when you see something, it grabs you. And sometimes if you hesitate, you go back and it's not there anymore. And I don't like that.
No,
so if you like it,
real.
buy it. Yeah, don't hesitate. But and don't, again, don't stick to a singular style, mix and match. Again, we try to sort of show you different mediums, different styles. All these things can play well together. And as you do that, as you kind of build that layered collection, it really starts to become your personal style. So it's like a partnership between you and the artist. The artist created it for you, and now you get to have it to build around and curate your own look with the art in your home.
I tell people my thing is always don't limit yourself. Don't put self-imposed rules about how to collect. I really tell people, go with your heart, what you love. And remember, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with it. So if you enjoy it and you love the way you did it, that's what's important, because you're the one that's going to live with that collection. And so I always stress the same thing. I don't like to buy to invest. I like to buy. A smarter person than me once told me, they goes like, don't buy to invest. Buy what you love, because at worst, you're gonna end up with a painting you're gonna enjoy and love for the rest of your life. I go, and I've always taken that to heart. I just buy what I love and I hang it how I love and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's. But I love being able, the idea of mixing and matching.
Mixing and matching.
Yes.
Yeah.
It adds layers too.
And that's really the word I think about too. Like we have our Todd Paxton Crow Warrior, not the one out here, but the one that's the normal size. He's right in front of a super abstract painting next to a Leslie Duke floral and ceramic pieces. So when you really start doing that, it just makes your work that much more fun to enjoy. you know, again, you want to go around and visit it and look at it and share it with your friends. And we have one more person back here. We'll get you a mic.
Just one question about downsizing. Looking at your audience here, I think many of us have downsized. We went from 4,300 square feet to 1,300. We had these walls that were perfect. We would put them in an illustrated magazine, but you pull them down and put them in a box, then what do you do with them? We've got a room full of such things. Second question, when you talk about original art, you consider lithos and multiple castings of a sculptor as original art.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. To me, I definitely consider, obviously the casting and all that, for sure are.
And even fine art photography, that's
Fine
a
art.
limited edition.
Yes.
But
The limited edition is important, especially for that, for the pieces, the works of art that the medium supports reproducing in that way. You know, you're casting, so you're going to have an edition of several. Same thing with the lithos or photography. I love fine art photography. Don't get me started. There's such underappreciation for fine art photography. I feel sometimes because everyone feels because they have a cell phone they can do it. So I love photography, and I think it's the same thing. I really truly you can fall in love with it just like any other piece of art.
something more to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And to your point, yeah, we do have people saying, I'm trying to divest of my, I met this really nice lady who told me all about all this artwork they had. And then she's like, but we're starting to divest instead of invest. And I'm like, okay, well, I would say enjoy the journey of like taking things out of the boxes again and getting the ones that tug at your heart. Save those, have fun putting those together in new little vignettes or collections. And then go through what you have left. And is it something to share with a family member? Is it something, you know, to donate or take to a consignment store or put into an auction?
There's a lot of paths to take, but I like that. Like, you know, it depends what your end goal would be. Like, for instance, like I said, finding a family member that might enjoy it is a good one. But if you're thinking, sometimes I think about it and I go, well, you can always, as you're downsizing, to continue the enjoyment of collecting, you can always consign those. And as you're downsizing, the sale of those that you're getting rid of can kind of combine to get you a new piece that you might enjoy. So one can replace many of a new one and less, but of an artist that you might not have considered at the time, because at the time you bought those, you might have not been able to afford it, or so there,
or to completely different look or
different style. You know, I start thinking of that. I think of that something. I go, well, if I had to, like, you could do that, and then I would buy a sculpture for my yard or my garden or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's so many possibilities. It depends on your goal and what you want to do. Like I said, family members donating, downsizing to me is just another. It can become another part of your collecting if you really want to.
reverse engineering. Yeah. And Larson Gallery, it does auctions twice a year, and we do have a appraisal person we recommend, Allison Gee, if you ever need help with that. We do not do appraisals and we do not do resales, even though Ken Zilstra's told me I should start an auction for those people who are ready to get rid of stuff to get new stuff, maybe next year. But again, you reverse engineer that collection, like keep what you love, repurpose stuff. You know, a lot of hospitals will take donations, or like Hospice of the Valley. So there's lots of different ways to, you know, have the art go out the other direction. But I would just make it a fun experience as you take each thing out of the box and go through it.
We kind of had a little of that because we moved from a house that had 28-foot ceilings. So we had some nice big pieces, and then we bought another house and those were like 9-foot ceilings. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with this, the artwork? How are we gonna hang it? I figured it out, and we kept them. But those kind of situations do occur, and it's just, again, to Susan's point, I would figure out what the goal is of the downsizing, whether do you want to recoup some of the investment, do you want to donate, things like that. For everyone, it's different, like I said. But it's definitely could be a fun part of it. Like I instantly think, okay, if I have to, I'm gonna reinvest that money and give me another piece. So my mind goes straight to that.
Yes.
But because if you can go different directions, like I see the hanging piece of the glass, I go, okay, now I can find many more places that I can't put a 2D piece of work on the
Think
wall.
beyond the wall. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I stand paintings up on tabletops because I don't have any more wall space. Wendy.
I just have two comments, and just one comment and a question. You talked about intimidation when people meet, art or meet the artist. And I have to tell you that for me, the way that got me over my shyness about talking, because I thought I'm dumb, I don't know much here, compared to these other people, the Art Discovery series did it for me. And it's been a real education. I just wanted to make that comment. But the question I have is, what is the definition of a collector?
You got one. Well, you shared something a couple of years ago that just resonated with me beautifully. Is you're a collector of information, a collector of knowledge. You're a collector. I mean, you buy one piece, you're a collector. The desire to be part of the artwork or be part of, if you're a book collector or, that is number one. Art lover, art appreciator. I guess we commonly would refer to a collector as somebody who has made a transaction and has pieces or multiple pieces, but the collector mindset is truly about the art lover and the art appreciator in my book. I just throw that on the ground today.
I totally agree. I mean, to me, when I was collecting posters, I considered myself a collector because to me, it's a mindset more than a physical thing. I think innately, as humans, we love to collect. Whether it's art, whether it's people,
hunter-gatherers,
yes, for sure. And I used to, when I couldn't afford anything, when I was in high school, I used to go to, I'm from Chicago, I used to go to the museum all the time, and I'd buy all the posters, and I'd hang them up on my wall, and all my friends would want to go out and do stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can't, and I would never tell them because I was so, I don't know why, but I was a little embarrassed to say, I want to go to the museum, art museum, to all my friends. But I buy all the posters and I hung them, and I remember looking at them and saying, this is my collection. So I really think it's a mindset, and if you love art, anything really, but if you're talking in the context of art, if you love art, you're happy there. I mean, when we were really young, me and my wife, we collected from thrift stores, we collected from anywhere. There's so much art in the world, and just I see it, and I'm like, okay, I think it's art. If I can bring it home, I'm bringing it home. And so I really think it's a mindset as a collector. If you love art, the moment you decide mentally you love art, you're there. The only thing that's missing is bring it into your home. And I tell people even then, at that point to me, you're a curator because you're caring for it now. The moment I enter your home, it's your responsibility to care for that piece and to keep it safe and nurture it. And so to me, I always tell people, you start as a collector and then you curate the moment it comes into your home. So to me, your mindset makes you a collector. And I feel a lot of people are like that. I don't like to limit. I tell people don't limit yourself by money and things like that. I've had people come to my home and I have pieces that my girls have made, and I really truly believe it feels like a really good piece of artwork. So I had it framed and I hung it. So I tell people, you see pieces that my daughters have made next to big pieces that we purchased next to a small work that we found at a thrift store, but it was done well, and then I love it, so it's coming home. So I don't like to put limitations in definitions of collector, but I do really believe it's a mindset, and it starts with you loving art, and you're there.
Yeah, and Deanna's got another question. Wait, before we gotta wait for the mic. Because the online people can't hear you, but I really believe everything that Adolfo said. I mean, the joy, what sparks joy, and the topic here was a collection to celebrate. I mean, if it makes you happy when you look at it, and again, we don't always get to take stuff home. We go to museums and we curate in our mind in a museum and we collect in our mind just as much as we do.
The stuff I can't afford to buy, I have a Pinterest board that I made my collection on, digital collection online, and I keep them there and I go through it and I look at it. I can't have them. Someone else might own them already, or I can't afford it at this point, but I got it and I look at it and I like to see it. Now, obviously there's levels to the game, you know, there's levels, you know, but there's, I don't judge the level you're at. I just want everyone to collect art. I just want everyone to love and enjoy, get the same enjoyment I get when I bring up the excitement you get the excitement when I walk. Me and Robin will walk down the aisles, and I just know when it hits me. One of them will hit me. I'll see a corner of my eye, or I'm staring directly at it. It hits me, and I look at Robin because I want to see if she's hitting her too. And so it's kind of fun. And then we fall in love with it. And we just know that's the one. And it literally takes us. Which when you talk about you are spending money and all that. But I tell you, it's so funny. We will debate. We will debate buying a kitchen table. We've been looking for a new dining table, and we're debating over and over because of the cost. Meanwhile, we literally just spent like twice that amount on the painting, and it took us like minutes to make the decision to buy that piece of artwork. But we're like debating. We're researching Amazon. We're looking at all the different stores around town online. She's texting me prices on all this. And it's taking us forever because we don't want to spend the money on
Need versus want.
Yes, but it'll take us a minute. We'll be walking and we're like, okay, this is it. Yeah, okay, let's do it. So it's one of those definitely, yeah.
Ken and I had collected our first works of art in our new home on a cruise. So of course we're talking prints, and we were introduced to the Celebration of Fine Art by a friend, and collected our very first original piece of art. And we still own that piece of art. We have collected, we have disposed, we have donated, we have sold many pieces of art, but we still, since 1994, own that piece of art that we bought here because it was so special. And at that point, we stopped collecting anything but originals. And that has been the most fabulous thing that we've ever done. And it was started here at the Celebration.
Yay.
And it was. I mean, we've collected a lot of art from a lot of places, but it was here that we collected our very first original.
Where you learn to celebrate art.
We absolutely do, and we still do. Yeah.
Yay, that's great, thank you. We love all of you, whether you collect with your, for your home or to enjoy by just visualizing it. It's why we do what we do. We love the sharing the experience of art and connecting with people who love art as much as we do. And we love hearing the stories and going to people's homes. And we feel very privileged to be part of that and the community.
For sure. I mean, when we took over the magazines, I mean, I thought this is my way of sharing and getting people to know art and love art as much as I do. And it's really why I've always loved putting these magazines together. I'm sure it's the same way with you putting Celebration together. It's our way to help nurture the love of art, and to help people collect and enjoy it and bring it into their homes. So I tell you, sometimes you get caught up, doing work. So I get caught up a lot doing the business side of it. I was putting the magazines on the table and I told Robin, oh my God, Timothy Horny's in our magazine. She's like, you put it together every month. How do you not know that? I don't see it, but I get that, still get that excitement. And so it's one of those things that that's why I love places like Celebration of Fine Art, and why I love doing what I do is just the ability to help people, help the artists, but also help people appreciate the art. Is also
Well said, well said. And I think we learned during COVID more than ever how much art brings joy to people's lives and how much people really like that connection. And I mean, it was like the waterfall when we opened last year. People just could not wait to get back in here to connect and experience the art together and enjoy it. So that's what we strive to do. I wanted to mention that there's a very special offer, like we love to give back, and American Art Collector does the same, and they contacted us when the show was opening, and they said, we see that you do your part to support free arts for abused children. We want to help support that, and they offered this great subscription opportunity if you want to get a subscription to American Art Collector or Western Art Collector.
Yes, and it's a save 5 we give 5. So you guys will save 5 on the subscription, and then we'll donate 5 also to the free arts. So it was awesome when we saw it. We're always like, we wanted to do something. And it's so funny because now that I have the ability to do that, I was like, okay, we're going to do this.
Do that, yeah. And you know, we believe so much in how art can really lift our spirits and enhance our lives and take us to a happy place. That's why we support so much what Free Arts does, because the work they do with kids that helps them overcome the trauma they've dealt with is amazing. So we're happy to support that. But I just want to thank all of you for being here today. Hope we've enlightened some things for you, and appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you, Adolfo. That's fun. I love this guy. I'll be here. So next week is something else fun. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be great. It's something great. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, good question. Thank you, Kathy. I want to share who's in our curated collection. So on the far left, we have Aiden Kringan, and that's called Contemplative. Love that. I love Aiden's work, especially it's, you know, they got the figurative yet abstract, amazing, fantastic. And then right next to that, we have Brian Sykes, beautiful wood turned piece with turquoise inlay and beautiful carved bird. And then right next to Adolfo is Sherry and Ralph Meldrum, copper pieces that are super cool. They come, you can get single, or there's a trio that comes over there. Right behind here, why not feature our wonder of the world, the Grand Canyon by Kirk Randall, oil painting. So we've got oil, wood, copper, oil. These 4 pieces are by Leah Ray, and it's her abstract collection in acrylic, and I think there's gold and silver leaf in there. This is Jack by Bryce Pettit. It's a bronze with a stainless steel patina, and I love Jack, and there's a Jill that goes with him over there. And then next to that is Aileen Frick, who does beautiful mixed media torn paper creations. As you get up close, you see there's beautiful words. Her work, it's just amazing. Like she layers, she paints with paper, and then she does go back in with some paint and varnish on top. And then the beautiful hanging glass piece is Sabrina Kavanaugh, who's new this year. And this beautiful totem, just magically done. And she's got other amazing pieces, tabletop pieces, or pieces that can be hung on the wall. And then tucked over in the end there is Terrell Powell, acrylic art with the birds and more of a tribal influence. So again, we kind of tried to mix and match a little bit of styles and mediums for you. And thank you so much, Kathy, I almost forgot that. So there's our curated collection that we love. Hope you do too.